Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be providing an update to the bull market support band. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Bitcoin is still fairly well below the bull market support band. There's a couple of weekly closes here. It's not that unfamiliar. We've seen this type of price action before a number of times throughout the years. We saw it over here in Q3 of 2024. We saw it in Q3 of 2023. The big difference this time is that it's actually happening in Q1, not Q3. So that's, I think, one of the big differences between 2025 and what we saw over the last 2 years. And it's also a kind of a big difference between what we saw in 2017, because in 2017, Bitcoin did not really lose its bull market support band at all once we got, sort of underway by late 2015. So there is some level of a deviation here by Bitcoin USD compared to what it has done last February and March. Obviously, you can come up with all sorts of narratives for that. But even if you go back even further and look at what Bitcoin did, other times, there's also this period in 2019 where Bitcoin fell below the bull market support band. One of the things you'll notice is that what often happens with Bitcoin after falling below the bull market support band typically is that, at some point within a few weeks, you would expect some type of a rally back up to the bull market support band. Whether it ends up being another lower high or not is up for discussion. But you can see the last two times, ultimately, Bitcoin was able to get back above it. In 2019, it was not. Now, what's the difference, right? Are there similarities over here? Are there differences? You can make a lot of comparisons with this cycle and the 2016, 2017 cycle. Plenty of comparisons to be made. Some of those comparisons just come from the fact that structurally, the market has been relatively similar, right? If you look at say a bar pattern back over here, and you just kind of line it up. With Bitcoin this cycle. Structurally, again, the ROI has been diminished, right? The ROI has been diminished, but there are some similarities, right, between those moves. But the point is that there are also similarities with 2019, and I think the reason why that 2019 comparison, kind of comes back to haunt Bitcoin fairly frequently is because of the monetary policy by the Federal Reserve. Remember, during 2019, there is also this ongoing quantitative tightening, which is also what we've seen this cycle as well. I think this is, the monetary policy view is sort of an easy one to dismiss, especially if it looks and smells like 2016, 2017. But this right here, right, these moves right here below the bull market support band, I think, they basically occurred as the Fed sort of pivoted monetary policy as the economy weakened up a little bit. Recently, we have seen the Atlanta Fed come out and sort of give out predictions for negative GDP in Q1. We'll see if that holds or not. But you couple that with inflation concerns, tariff concerns, and whatnot, and you get these drops below the bull market support band. Now, again, we talked about how the S&P would likely find weakness between February OPEX and March OPEX. Best case scenario for the S&P, in my opinion, is that the local low has already occurred based on, there's plenty of examples in Marches where about mid-March is where the local low occurs. Sometimes it takes until about mid-April. So, if you're trying to figure out when could Bitcoin get a rally back up to the bull market support band, it's going to depend on whenever the S&P 500 finds a local low, right? Does it continue to show weakness until the end of March or early April, or does it find that strength sooner? Now, I think that's ultimately what's going to dictate the amount of time it takes for Bitcoin to get that move back up. Because, again, at this point, there are still some similarities between what we've seen, in some of these other downturns by Bitcoin, where it kind of gets a drop, but then it doesn't really go anywhere, right? Even over here, you can kind of see, and even over here, right, in 2021, it dropped below it and then kind of consolidated for a little bit back up to the bull market support band, and then it went down into a lower low that ultimately led into a lower high. So I think it makes sense to try to be sort of open-minded about how long it could take for that renewed strength to come in. As I've said, market structure is still okay as long as Bitcoin is above the 2024 high, which was around 73K. Below 73K, it really starts to draw in more uncertainty into sort of the health of the overall market. What I'm sort of thinking right now, as I've said, right, weakness between February OPEX and March OPEX, some renewed strength in Q2, and I'm kind of thinking that you get weakness again sometime in Q3, just like we got the last 2 years. Now, that technically that is sort of the pessimistic way to look at the market. The more optimistic way would be to say, well, if we're getting the weakness in Q1, maybe there will be strength in Q3, right? But the reason I'm not so sure about that is because the Bank of Japan is expected to raise rates again in the third quarter of the year. Now, obviously, they could raise rates at any time, but if market expectations are correct and they raise rates again in Q3, well, we know the last 3 times that the Bank of Japan raised rates, it ultimately led to a market sell-off. So that's why I think whatever renewed strength there will be, I'm guessing it will occur mostly in the second quarter of the year before then likely another weak third quarter of the year. That's generally what I'm thinking right now. We'll talk more about it as the market goes on, and obviously I will try to change my mind if I think there is a reason to change it. But those are my views right now. And by the way, the bull market support band, since that's technically the name of the video, I'll just use that title to basically make a video about whatever I want. The bull market support band right now is between 88K and 94K. Right, 88K, 94K is ultimately where it is. And as the weeks go on, you'll see that 20-week SMA sort of slowly stall out and then start to turn down. So the longer it takes Bitcoin to turn back up, it becomes more likely that Bitcoin would test it as the 20-week SMA is going down rather than going up. But we'll talk more again later this week, or probably within a day or two. But I just want to provide a quick video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.